Y'all coming to the Gypsy tonight? Who's there? Fantastic and Cold Crutch. Oh my God. Well, I think you might have got that wrong. What? You know how Fantastic be talking about Cold Crutch.
They're gonna be a serious stone now.
Here they come.
See? I told
Here they
y'all.
come.
Now y'all believe.
Look at that dude. This is a two-man.
Well, I'm a T. I'll dog my face. I want to get you on the court. I beat Charlie Chase.
Cold Crutch.
Charlie Chase. Excuse me, the devil to play like me.
Well, I'm the R. Ruby D. You got a lot of nerve when you play against me. You know you're gonna get served.
Cold Crutch, Shady L. Belong to Ruby D, my man. Your shit is on the boards.
You're all can ball. You're all can ball. I'm the king. And I'm not the fake. You know I eat your ass up like a steak you take.
Cold Crutch. Overall, the game is legit. Ruby D on the court. I'm going to speak your shit.
The W.
Whip a whip.
And I'm here to say that I can rock your world like the Dr. J.
Cold Crutch.
Tony Tone, known to be ill, but everybody knows I can deal with the pill. I'm the D, gotta rock on this shit court. Been 9 years old playing this shit sport. Cold Crutch, AD, high degree. I got a better jump shot than Rick Barry. Well, I'm the M, like all the pretty girls. I serve your monkey ass like Earl the Pearl. Cold Crutch, Grandmaster Caz or GMC. I'm gonna stick it on the board, man. Can't you see?
Cause I'm bold. And Charlie Chase will last. Cause he's fast. And only told gospel cause he's original. The Cold Crutch is on. Cause we the ball. Even in a storm, we'll keep you warm. Hey crew. Yeah, Cap. We gonna need a little back for the rap now. Tony Chase. Yeah, crew. You're the DJs. What you gonna do? What makes you think so, Cap? Because I look so good and I'm the Lord of rap. I'm fresh. So thanks that when I was young, I learned to jive when me crazy with my tongue. That's right. What makes you say that? Because it don't take much to make me laugh. Wow. So wild that when I start to break tape, you better step back and let me play. That's wild. Well, I'm fine. Who told you that, easy? The young girl, his mother, and my lady. I'm fly. So fly, sometimes it seems all I got to do is now, and I get screamed. That's fly. I'm bold. What you to that impression came because I don't care what nobody say. How bold? So bold, I smack a man with his gun and kiss his woman. This is mother, and know this is wrong. That's bold. Fresh, wild, fly, and bold, and we'll be that way till we go home. For the rest of our life, as long as we live, we'll keep using those adjectives. That's to describe the hot way you try. That's to permit us to go with us who go down. Stay home with a fresh rap style to make you go wild. Us, if you don't believe we're real, then touch us.
Woo! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Behind the Records. I'm here with the one and only Grandmaster Caz, your rapper's favorite rapper. Salutations and applause for you, my brother.
What's good?
First and foremost, man, let me get a few things out of the way, man. I gotta definitely I definitely gotta send healing tones, man, to myself because Christmas Eve I was tested positive for COVID. So I've been in the crib, you know, quarantining and fixing myself. I got my water and my sea moss and all my zinc and all that good stuff. So I want to send healing tones out to myself. You know what I'm saying? And any of everyone that's also going through this same experience with this COVID-19 thing, this Hawaiian strain, sending healing tones for those who are suffering. Sending healing tones to our good friend Allison Williams, and LL Cool J and many others that are putting up a good fight with this dreadful disease. that's been plaguing us for some years now. I want to give a rest in peace shout out to John Madden, the sports and the video game legend. I would like to give a rest in peace shout out to my good friend 88 off Gates from around my way from Best Die Do or Die, and my good friend Tim Moore, who was a digital computer guy, and he worked at Vibe, and you know, we've been friends for years, man. He's been one of those digital pioneers early in the game. So I want to give a rest in peace shout out to him, man. And happy birthday shout out to Tyrese and to Yellow Wolf. So now that I got all that out of the way, I want to welcome you to Behind the Records. This is an honor to have you, and also I gotta, you know, send healing tones to our good friend, our legend, Curtis Blow. Curtis Blow, my brother, we're sending you great positive energy and great healing in your time and your challenges with health issues and what you're going through. And we know you're a man of the cloth and you're a man of the spirit, so we know that that you are going to be fine, and we are all praying for you. So without further ado, guys, welcome. Like I said, your rapper's favorite rapper, unquestionably the most significant rap artist from the inception of hip hop, in my opinion. And I'm going to explain why I feel that way about this gentleman that we have in the other frame over there. Cass and I have been long-term friends, and you know, and it's so incredible, and I'm so respectful right now that I am actually on my backdrop and on my chest.
I see.
I'm rocking your works, sir.
What's up? That's what's up. Original Cedric and Cedar. All right.
Can what was going on here, man? Because obviously, you know, is that an image of you with the chick, or like?
Nah. That's a flyer. That was it's an actual flyer from back in the days. We played with Cool Herc at the Galaxy, 2000 up on University Avenue in the Bronx, and that we just took the flyer and then put it on T-shirt, you know, for the Cedric and Cedar shit. But yeah, that's a genuine flyer from that day, and all that information is real.
Yo, it was like, if you get a chance to look at the flyer closely, it's like the cost to get in is $2. If you got the flyer, you get $1 off. So it only costs you $1.
If you came with a flyer, word. If you that's why a lot of people got flyer collections to this day, because they collected those flyers. Them shits was artwork, you know what I mean, and coupons to some people.
yeah, and they're collectibles right now too.
Oh,
like,
yeah, definitely. If you got original flyers from back in the day, those are historical, you know what I mean, art pieces and pop culture, you know what I mean?
Right. Because, you know, if you look at, you know, one, the price of admission, two, the notables that are featured, and then the art, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all this is hand crafted.
Yeah. Some of the earliest flyers, most of the earliest flyers were handmade at first. And then you started, you know, getting access to people with lettering, the graffiti artists mainly. You know what I mean? They know how to get them stencils and shit, and then put the stencils on flyers and make it look more credible, make it look more legit. Prior to that, they was handwritten. You know what I mean? Like you see, like an example on your shirt right there.
Right.
They got a little more sophisticated later on. They started putting pictures on them, and that's how you finally put a face to those names that you knew so well, but you never saw our pictures unless you came to a live show. So the flyers are very important to the development of hip hop back in the day, and its historical perspective as well.
So what was that like though? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all had a whole crew that would actually hand out those flyers. Like what was that? Like, how many flyers were made? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, did you go downtown with the flyers, or did
Got you. Basically, it was a more like a neighborhood kind of thing. Depending on where the event was, you covered a pretty much few mile radius, like a 5-mile radius around wherever the joint was, whether it was a high school or a gym or rec center or whatever, you know what I mean? And it was cool to give out your own flyers because number one, that's how you met girls. You know what I mean? You handed them, you on Fordham Road giving out flyers. Yo, I'm having a party. I'm having a party. Not somebody's having a party. I'm having a party. That name on that flyer, that's me. All right.
So
Come to this and this and that. Whoop, whoop. So it lets you a certain level of notoriety to even be passing out flyers, especially your own flyers. But eventually we had crews and people that got down with us and like that was their job. Go out and give out flyers. You go to this school, y'all go to that school, this one go to that school, and it was like that.
So explain the crew situation, because crews, like your crew back in the day was like everything, right? And everybody in the crew had somewhat of a superpower or a role like that they played, right? Like it was one person that was the EC, the equipment carrier, or was one person that was the lead vocalist, and the other dude would do the beatbox if it was needed. Like what would be like a solid crew?
Crews were inclusive and they were self-contained. Okay, a crew had DJs, MCs. Okay, you had equipment carriers, you had flyer makers. Okay, we had photographer, we had a dude who recorded all of our parties. You know what I mean? A lot of those cassette tapes that you heard was recorded by my man Tape Master, okay, who was a part of our crew. So
his name was Elvis. Elvis Moreno.
Yep. He lived on 174th and Hoe Avenue, okay, in the Bronx. And he went to South Bronx High School with Tony Tone and our other crew member, brother Joe Conzo. And their contributions to our crew was immeasurable. Because, we did our thing on stage. Our DJs did their thing. You know what I mean? Our people gave out our flyers. But these are the guys that, number one, recorded our parties and spread us all over the fucking city and eventually all over the country. And Joe Conzo, being one of the first person to take pictures of hip hop, he was the first person to put our images out. So we was the first cats like throwing posters and shit out at parties because we had a photographer taking our pictures.
Wow.
So crew was very important. And when you had a crew that everybody played a role, the whole was more successful.
Shout out to Kid Capri in the building. Kid Capri, what up?
All right.
So
y'all look out for that new Kid Capri album too. That shit dropped.
It's definitely representing, man. And all right, so speaking of that crew, all right, so everybody want to tell the story about the origin of hip hop. Who was the first? Who was the start? Who did what back in the days? My opinion is most of the people that tell their story tells it from their perspective of what they've seen, right? Even though they were there and saw what they saw, doesn't mean that it originated with their sight, right?
Facts.
Because there was probably somebody else there that you didn't see that has another opinion on who was the first one to show up in the park and plug the speakers up to the lamppost and start playing. You know what I'm saying? So I know even in this flyer here, Casanova Fly was your former MC name, and you were battling with Herc, or Herc was on the bill as well with the Herculoids. What was that like? You know what I'm saying? Like, did everybody know each other, or was it people coming from different parts of the Bronx?
Well, everybody pretty much knew each other. The hip-hop community wasn't as big as it is today. You know what I mean? If you MC'd or DJ'd, every other MC or DJ pretty much knew about you if you had any notoriety. Now, there were a lot of cats who was around that never, you know, kind of got that kind of notoriety. Maybe on their block, you know what I mean, or the peoples or something knew of them, but they never gained that kind of notoriety where everybody knew their name. But the main guys out there, and the guys that was out there making noise and moving and get on flyers and shit, those were the first people that you started to know. So there was like a community of hip hop. We didn't know each other personally at first, but come to find out, like when I met Grandmaster Theodore, I found out he was my best friend from when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
His name was Teddy, and he lived down the block from me. You know what I mean? My dog bit him one time. He was at my house, and he never came back to my crib. All right. After that, I ain't your friend no more, and he ran out the house.
What kind of dog was it? Was it a Rockwilder?
Nah, it was a big ass dog though. He was wild too. He was wild. But the next time I saw Theodore is when I was casting over Fly, and he was Grandmaster Theodore. You know what I mean? So it's like we kind of all grew up in the same areas. Went to schools close to each other, if not the same schools, and wind up being, you know, the foundation of hip hop.
Wow. And Grandmaster DJ Theodore, he's still doing his thing. He probably will definitely chime in on this live at some point because he always kind of shows up and shows support. And you know, just you know, I being a young kid from Brooklyn growing up, there's been a whole lot of tapes and recordings that I would get my hands on of your live shows. Phenomenal. Like I wish that there were visuals, and there are some visuals out there of those legendary shows and encounters, but that energy, man, was just like, what was it like being in the moment with that energy? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's different. If I felt the energy listening, I can only imagine the energy watching it live. What did it feel like for you?
For us, it was about creating that energy. Okay, we didn't always walk into an energy. Hip hop wasn't automatic when you went to it. It was in the building stages, so you had to show and prove every time you went out there. It wasn't locked in stone that next week hip hop will still be here. You understand? We was fighting against the people saying that it was bullshit and why y'all doing that old crazy shit anyway, and why you messing up your clothes, rolling around on the floor, dancing and all that shit. So we fighting that kind of opposition because everybody wasn't pro hip hop in the beginning, especially the next generation, the older generation. You know what I mean? So it took us a few years to just, you know, to kind of get our legs underneath us and for this to be established. And once we knew and had our own faith that, yo, fuck whatever anybody say, we moving forward with this shit. We gonna do it. It's important to us, and we gonna keep it moving. And that's why hip hop is alive to this day. Because mad niggas was like, yo, when y'all gonna stop doing that hippity hoppity shit? Even girls, like, when, like, come on, that you know, that's that young shit. They ain't saying that shit now though.
So, but what was the popular thing then? Was it the funk era? Was it the soul era? Like, what was popular then?
Hip hop was just coming off the disco era. Okay, the era of music that preceded hip hop was disco music. Okay, and you had your soul and funk music, which was really pretty for the older crowd, your mom, your aunts and shit, when they was having card parties and shit, used to play, you know what I mean, the Temptations and, you know, Al Green and all that, you know, all that shit. When our era came in, it was about disco and you know, Motown, Michael Jackson, you know what I mean, and that whole Motown sound. What we gravitated to is the music that had beats in it, the music that had a drum breakdown to it. All right, because when that breakdown come in, then whoever's the best dancers get in the middle of the motherfucking crowd and go the fuck off. And that was the beginning of breakdancing.
Well, I want to play something, and when you hear it, let me know the first thing that comes to your mind today. Right. And also let me know how you felt when you first heard this.
All right. For me, it was a nice joint to cut up because you got to remember, I'm a DJ as well. You know what I mean? So by when Good Times came out, I was still buying records, collecting records, had my own set and my own shit. So my first inclination was to cut that shit up. Okay. And I used to hustle as well. I used to hustle. So I was still getting my little hustle on at the same time. So I attacked it from 3 different elements. I danced to it, I cut it up, and I rhymed off of it.
Wow.
And
so
those rhymes that I said off of Good Times eventually became the rhymes you heard on Rapper's Delight.
Okay, exactly. And that's the point in which I said you're probably undeniably the most significant rapper in the culture of hip hop because
MC,
right? Because it was, you know, rappers is a newer term, and MCs were what everyone was back then, which stands for Masters of Ceremony.
Right, and Melly Mel coined the term EMCEE, which means a hip hop MC. Okay, M and a C is a master of the ceremony. EMCEE got bars.
Wow. Thank you for breaking that down, and salute to Grandmaster Melly Mel and the whole Furious Five, and also salute to Nile Rodgers, because
we're gonna salute Nile Rodgers when he send that check. That's when we gonna salute Nile Rodgers. All right, hold off on the salutes till I give you the word. Okay? that he turned that publishing back over to me. All right. And then we can move forward with the salutes. Other than that, good.
Let's talk about.
Other than that, now is fine, baby.
Let's talk about that. So it's, you know, normally, typically reversions happen, and reversions mean that your publishings get reverted back to the original master or the original composer of the works, right? That's typically 25 to 30 years. You know, hip hop is going on 50 plus, so reversions are definitely in order. So you're right and exact with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's time.
What specifically, and this is important because a lot of people who create music now, they don't do their homework and they don't do their research to see where interpolations come from, to see where the samples come from, to see where the styles come from. They don't educate themselves. They're more led with passion and feelings and emotion than systemic processes and systems and who owns what, and have a conversation with them before you use their stuff. And like, they don't understand that process. They just run out the door, or they just get in the booth and just go for it.
Well, I mean, you got to understand, back in our days, that process wasn't in place. I mean, we was on an honor system as far as hip hop was concerned. You know, there was no law, but it was like, nah, you don't do that shit. You know what I mean? You don't bite people's shit. You don't say nobody wanted to be known for doing no shit like that.
Right.
But the record business doesn't have those same rules, ethics, or morals. Okay? So, in the music business, we don't give a fuck who write it. We don't give a fuck who did the beat. We don't give a fuck about none of that. As long as we feel that it's a hit, we gonna get behind it, and that's what's up. You know what I mean? So wow. you got a different dynamic from just being hip hop and just trying to be, you know, like kind of ghetto superstars and like the top guys in the hood. And now music business, and now you're competing against, you know, a whole nother dynamic right there. I mean, and you know, all right, because you was part of it.
Yeah, I grew up with it, and I was explaining earlier, like your music resonated so much with me growing up as a teenager. You know, I had an event. I have an event story. You know what I'm saying?
Word?
You know, and a lot of us, growing up, have a story of having a love interest or girlfriend or somebody that you kicked it with, and you used to do the extra stuff. I'll tell on myself a little bit about my event story.
Go ahead, give it up.
Your event story, ended up inspiring LL, ended up inspiring Will Smith. Yeah.
Okay.
Facts.
All right.
So my event story is I used to stay at her house late, my girlfriend at the time, and I used to try to trick her parents to make them think that I left, but I really didn't leave. I really kind of hung. I hid behind the couch in the living room, and in the morning,
I've seen that movie before.
And ring the doorbell like I just got there in time for breakfast.
Oh yeah.
But I was there all the time. They didn't know.
A couple of people told me they've had event stories as well. I think that's what made that rhyme so popular and so relatable. You know what I mean? Because even if it didn't happen, you could see that shit happening.
Oh, absolutely.
You could see that shit. You can visualize it. It's like I painted a picture so well. It was like you was part of the story. And to this day, that story has endured. You know what I mean?
So, and that was payphone days, right?
Exactly.
You had to go to the payphone to call.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And if you listen to all the things that I say in it, you can tell kind of the time period.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you did it today, you was like, you went somewhere to make a phone call. Why'd you have to go somewhere? Nigga, just pull your phone out. You know what I mean?
Right. Just pull out your cell phone. Nah, it was before that era.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So I've had DMC on this show last week, and DMC said that when him and Run first went up to the Fever to perform, they had on plaid jackets, they had on plaid blazers, and they didn't look like typical MCs. And DMC said that he was rhyming, that he wanted to make sure that he had your approval. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if he got the thumbs up from you, he knew that he was good, And they were from Queens, and they were charting up to the Bronx, an uncharted territory.
Definitely.
And they did their thing, and they were accepted in the hip hop circle, so to speak. What was that like? Being at the Fever and really like that had to be like one of your houses. You know what I'm saying?
It was the house shared by all the luminaries of hip hop, from the Bronx, you know what I mean, in Harlem and stuff. But when RunDmc came through, it was kind of a catch-22, and to be honest, because it was like, okay, we see what's happening, and then it's like, oh shit, we see what's happening. You know what I mean? Like these niggas signaled the changing of the guard. You know what I mean? They signaled the changing of the guard. Run-DMC signaled the next generation that was coming forth in hip hop. You know what I mean? And if we felt that we were going to be a part of that, we probably would have felt more, accommodating to it. But we just felt, I can't speak for everybody in hip hop, but I knew this is the end of our generation. this is the beginning of the next generation, and they are the beginning of the next generation of hip hop.
So that's interesting because we're actually experiencing that present day, right? With artists that were 90s rappers and the little Uzi Verts and all the littles and all the youngs that's happening.
And yeah.
So there is a disparity between the older artists and the younger artists, right? So did you, when Run-DMC and them came up to the Fever, did y'all look at them like they were like foreign objects? Like, yo, like, I don't know if that's gonna work. Like, did you like everybody's
not like they were foreign objects or nothing, but it was like that's not what we do. But we knew since people liked it and it was dope, it was like, oh shit. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna have to do what we do anymore to be able to do this.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Wow. So did you
You
guys
ain't gonna have to dress like us to be, you know, you're not gonna have to rhyme like us or as good as us to be able to be a part of this thing. And we saw that happening. You know what I mean? And that's what they signal for me. If nobody else say this shit, you ask me. I'm telling you, that's what they signal for me. A light went off in my fucking head that was like, yo, this is the next shit. You know what I mean?
So
they didn't just walk in the Fever by themselves. Russell brought them to the Fever.
Right.
You know what I mean? They used to be with Curtis Blow. You know what I mean? Like they wasn't doing nothing before they got to the Fever. The Fever just introduced them to the Bronx. You know what I mean?
Right. So and Run was the son of Curtis Blow.
Of Curtis Blow.
He
was
a DJ. He was a DJ.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But D is the one who, you know what I mean, who was getting them tapes and was like, yo, he was loving them tapes. He was inspired by them tapes. And I know two people for sure that he always puts in the forefront of his inspiration, and that's myself and my girl Shy Rock. The way Shy Rock used to rock that echo chamber blew his mind, and he was always influenced by that. You know, he always gives it up whenever he's doing interviews. He always talks about us. If you bring us up around him, his whole shit will light up, his whole aura will light up, and he'll start talking about it really passionately because he was deeply inspired by our era. That's why I didn't mind it being them, because I knew they respected where this shit came from. They was aspiring to be like us, but they just changed the game because they was on the next level.
Wow. And when you saw the breakthrough of them with Rock Box and Walk This Way, did you see what started in the Bronx? Did you see that energy? Did you see the vision of that energy that's going to be spread out throughout the world? Now, white people are loving this, right? Like, did you really, like, could you imagine back then that it would be as big as it is now?
Somebody asked me, and people ask me that all the time. I would be an asshole if I sat here and told you, oh yeah, I knew it would be this big. I knew hip hop would grow to these proportions, and I don't own shit in the hip hop. I don't own a record company. I had no fucking idea this shit would grow to these proportions. I always thought it would be cool if it happened, but I never in my wildest fucking dreams thought that hip hop would be the biggest thing on fucking planet Earth. I was too busy creating it, you know, to try to own it. You know what I mean? I felt like we did own it because we created this shit. You understand what I'm saying? But then the commercial side of it is true ownership. And then when the record companies and stuff, these entities start coming into play, and you know, that's where ownership shifted from cultural to commercial.
But you know, you guys did take ownership of what it was that you were doing, because you didn't allow biting. You had rules, you had codes that, you know what I'm saying, that you lived by from the onset, right? So in a sense, you did take ownership, but understanding what ownership really was, there was no teacher there. There was no guidance there. Because
not for the first school of hip hop.
Right.
Not for the first school of hip hop.
And that's what I'm making reference to.
Made this shit up as we went along. But the next school of hip hop had college graduates involved. You know what I mean? Had marketing people and business people involved and lawyers involved and shit like that. So you know what I mean? That's when it got real. That's when it got real.
Well,
they keep talking about the bag. You know, wasn't no bag when we started doing this shit.
I mean, you was charging $2 to get into your parties.
50 cents. I'll show you 50-cent parties.
Like how many people? Not to do. I want to do the math really quick. So $2 to get in, 100 people. You got 6 people in the crew.
It depends on the venue. It depends on the venue. We're looking at 200 to 400 to 500 people, depending on the venue. You know what I mean? And sometimes the shit was on a Wednesday or a fucking Tuesday or whatever. You know what I mean? Sometimes we had parties throughout the whole weekend. One early and then one later in the day. All kind of shit, man. Okay, we played every time we got an opportunity, everywhere we got a fucking opportunity, whether it was free, whether it was 50 cents, $2, $3, whatever the fuck, until people started hiring us and paying us to come to parties. All right? Prior to that, we gave those parties.
What other impact did you notice that happened around those parties? Like, you know, like present day, people, you know, about to go to the party, they go to the mall, they buy some new gear, you know what I'm saying? Like, what was that environment like when people knew that those parties was happening?
Yeah, same thing. Same thing was like Easter, okay? When you know it's a jam, you got to get fresh. If you work at summer youth corps, whatever, you got your little job, you get your summer youth corps check, go up to Jew Man, you know what I mean, on Southern
Jew Man.
Motherfucking outfit, your sneakers, your mock neck, you know what I mean, your Lees, whatever, or go downtown to Canal Street, you know what I mean? Yo, it was same thing like today, but it was more connected to hip hop itself and to the event. You know what I mean? You didn't just had to go get dressed up. No, you had to go get your sheepskin, nigga. You had to, you know what I mean? So
right.
I don't like to say fashion-wise. I like to say style-wise.
Style-wise.
Style-wise, hip-hop, you know what I mean? Like, reinvented the whole fucking game.
So style-wise, you know, y'all wore fedoras and leisure suits and, like, it was different. Bell-bottom pants, you know what I'm saying? With the mock necks, with the jewelry. Like, it was kind of dressy. It was, like, really dress up. Like, if you look at the image on the flyers, like, I don't know if Shorty got on like a onesie dress, sweater dress, but the dude is in a suit with bell bottoms and platform.
Yeah, that's more of like a disco depiction. You know what I mean? And because in the early days, hip hop wasn't called hip hop. Okay, a hip hop party was a jam. Okay. Right. Just like Jamaican music culture, you know, when they say they jamming, you know what I mean, when they had a party in hip hop, you're like, yo, where they jamming at?
Right.
Where they jam at? It was a hip hop jam, okay? And the places that we gave them usually were discos because that's what the prevalent music was of the day. And if you listen to a lot of them old school tapes and a lot of the dialogue, and even on the flyers, it says disco. Disco this, disco that, disco that. Listen to some of the early rappers. He's the disco dream of the mean machine. And when he, you know, it's disco this, disco that. So before hip hop had its own name, okay, we described where we were doing the thing at the disco.
I want to play something really quick.
Right about now, we just gonna give you more bounce. And if you don't know, I'm gonna let you know it's the Grandmaster Caz. The most rock the mic and play records, a lot of class. Got style, fucking dance. Guaranteed to rock your ass. Now I want to
Been doing this for a minute, my nigga.
I could feel myself at the party.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm gonna tell you something else, Rob. If you was a DJ back in those days, you remember, like I said, the music that were played in clubs was either disco music or old school music, R&B, you know what I mean, soul, funk, R&B. So as a DJ, you play what the fuck you gotta play, depending on the venue. So when we play outside, I'm playing, you know, what the fuck, I'm playing b-boy shit. I'm playing a club, I'm playing disco music.
Right.
Because they didn't allow hip-hop music in discos back in the day. Not in the clubs that we went to play in. Because if you got a gig playing in the club, they want you to play the music that they think the audience want to hear. We young niggas playing hip-hop music. We playing break beats and cutting shit up there like, wait, we don't want to hear that shit. We don't want to hear that shit. If you want to play in here, you got to play grown-up music.
Because and this is something that I also witnessed. When you play b-boy music in the club, it killed the dance floor for couples to dance, right?
Yeah.
But people started freestyling and breakdancing.
Exactly. So that created a whole nother, you know what I mean, a thing to be attention. But it turned off the couples and the dancers.
Right.
So that's what separated that disco from the hip hop. You know what I mean? Because with girls, when you dance with a girl at a hip hop jam, okay, maybe that might throw on a couple of R&B joints early, nigga. But once that shit get crowded, this straight b-boy right here. They make a big ass circle, and you can't go ask a girl to dance. Be like, yo, what's up, man? You want to dance? Take her out to the dance floor and then start doing windmills. Okay, she gonna leave your ass spinning right where the fuck you was at. All right.
You might get kicked to the neck.
Okay, y'all want to do that hip hop shit? Go ahead. We go to the disco and dance with the niggas with the skinny leather ties and shit.
Oh wow. So this, you know, it was in the movie Wild Style. That was a great depiction of the culture. Looking at it in its early stages. Like, I mean, back then, were you like, yo, I'm a movie star, like I'm in the movie? Like, how did that feel, like coming back around the neighborhood and everybody know that you was in Wild Style?
Well, it depends, you know what I mean? It's not like it was a major, you know, motion picture. It was an independent film. But what it did more for me, what I was more excited about is the fact that the validation that came from outsiders who, you know nothing about what we doing, but see the shit and had a appreciation and a passion for what we was doing and the circumstances that we were doing the shit in, and decided it was important enough to document. That's what Wild Style did for me. It validated what we was doing. Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, everybody's saying that shit is crazy. Y'all ain't gonna never get nowhere doing that. That shit, these people come out of nowhere and they want to make a movie out of what the fuck we doing in the places that we do it in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what it did for me. Definitely validated what the fuck we was doing.
Yo, that's one hell of a stamp. You know what I mean? That you can't erase that. You know what I'm saying? That's forever there.
And let me say something else. I just got my Wild Style check the other day. Every year since Wild Style came out, everybody in the movie gets a check at the end of the year. I don't give a fuck if it's $11, my nigga.
Wow.
Every year since Wild Style came out, I've gotten a check around this time of year. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, depending on, you know, if the movie did anything or the soundtrack or whatever. But I could say to this day, handwritten check from Charlie Ahern, okay?
Yes.
Everybody that was in Wild Style. That's
wow.
love. That's love.
Wow. And let me ask you this. Did you sign paperwork to be in the movie?
Oh, yeah. We had to. It's documented. You know what I mean? There's photographs of us signing our Wild Style contract. You know what I mean? Could we have cut a better deal? Maybe. You know what I mean? But it was like, this is all our movie. Everybody, you know what I mean, gets equal, whatever. And we doing this for pretty much for the culture.
For the culture.
Yeah.
So was there one attorney representing all of you guys, or you had separate people representing, or it was just like, this is what we're gonna do, and collectively y'all decided, well, we're gonna sign, we're gonna rock with you. Let's go.
Most of us were a lot of us were young that were in the movie, so their parents had to sign.
Because y'all look mad young, like.
But me, I wasn't young like that. I was what? I was like 8. I was like 22.
Okay.
21, 22. You know, when we were filming Wild Style. KG is the youngest member, so he was about 17. Some of the B-boys were like 15, 14, 16. You know what I mean? They had to get their parents to sign off on it and everything. But basically, it was, like I said, it was a labor of love, and it was done, you know, for the culture. And to this day, it's the most authentic movie ever made about hip-hop, because it was the actual people that were doing the hip-hop. No actors, you know what I mean? Only actors in the film were playing other parts. You know what I mean? Even the stick-up kids in the movie was fucking real. The guns was real, everything, you know.
No, let's talk about that really quick, because the stick-up kids was really real in you know, outside the fever, sometimes inside the fever.
Facts.
Security would stick up the fucking spot, you know what I'm saying? Rob everybody.
Facts. That flyer, that shirt that you got on right now, that spot got stuck up. Okay, the Galaxy got stuck up. One night, Theodore was on the turntables and shit. I was in there standing next to him. Niggas came in with motherfucking jammy shotguns. Yo, turn that fucking music off. Theodore took the music off. Yo, they robbed the joint. Niggas was running in the back, jumping over bars and shit. It was snowing outside. Niggas jumping out windows. It was crazy, my nigga. Stick Up Kids had they motherfucking run through hip hop in the early days. Trust me. And some of the earliest like known Stick Up Kids, them niggas was b-boys at first.
Oh
them
wow.
Niggas was dancing.
So they be dancing right next to you, looking at your jewelry,
because the b-boys is the first ones, you know, with the chains and the fly gear and the sheepskins and shit like that. They was robbing niggas.
Wow.
They was robbing niggas, man. DJs and shit wasn't robbing niggas. All right, MCs and shit wasn't out robbing. Maybe a couple, okay? But for the most part.
Yo, keep it real. Keep it real. There was some of them niggas down with the shit.
A couple niggas that you already know. You know what I mean? But basically, I mean, there was a few different kind of niggas. It was sports niggas. If you was into sports, you was an athlete. You know what I mean? You was an academic, meaning you was a smart nigga, nerd type nigga going to school. You know what I mean? You was a street nigga, meaning like a stick-up kid or a drug dealer, or you was a music nigga. You was a hip-hop nigga. You was into the music. You know what I mean? Now, a lot of times those lines were blurred. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, they were lines. You know what I mean? They were different. People did different shit. Today, the industry is inundated with fucking stick-up kids and gangsters and murderers and thugs and all that shit. You know what I mean? But back then, the thugs was over there. The athletes was over there. L7 niggas was over there. And the niggas, you know, the other niggas was over here. Yeah, everybody knew who they was and who they wasn't.
Has there been probably the most dynamic shootout or like riot that you've seen that happened during a rap concert or one of the jams?
I've seen a few. And I've seen the aftermath of a few. No one really sticks out in my mind like that, because when we used to perform, one night we walked up in Harlem World. We had like 3 shows before that and got to Harlem World about 1:30, almost 2 o'clock, and opened the front fucking door, and it was pandemonium in that bitch. Okay. Niggas was running back and forth, bitches was running, yo, shoes, pocketbooks, all over the floor. And we standing in the front just watching this shit go on. And I don't know what the fuck struck me, what kind of superhero mode I got in, but I walked directly through all that fucking chaos, okay, without stopping. Walked up to the stage, grabbed the mic, and said, "What the fuck is going on in here?" Everything stopped. Every fucking thing stopped. The group walked up on stage. He was like, "What the fuck is y'all doing in here, man? The cold crushers in this motherfucker." Yo, Rob, niggas was literally like this. All right? Niggas stopped in mid-punch. I mean, it was like, I don't know what went on before we got in that motherfucker, but it was pandemonium. And then, I mean, I swear everybody just started calming down. Bitches started finding their shoes and pocketbooks and all that. And the fucking party continued.
Wow.
The fucking party continued. I noticed that when you got a whack group on stage, okay, and niggas start getting restless, that's when some shit pop off in the party. But if you rocking that motherfucker, even the gangsters is in there like this. All right?
So you mean to tell me if you're doing something like this,
you already know. You already know. All right? That's the sound. And I ain't talking to one person. I'm talking to
Everybody, listen to this. The weekend service alone to dance. We run the regret and I wanna see. And then it's so bad it'll make you. Everyone, give it your attention, please. Especially those people who like parties. It's the best that people like to. Power, everybody love the what we get. Cause there's the time to work and the time to play. I want you to come effectively in one day. To win out the play without further ado. Let the ball run down this week for you. When the gold runs for, giving you more. And we just came to say, ooh, what our relief it is.
Hey, wait, hold up. I gotta address something real quick.
what you said?
I gotta address something real quick.
Okay.
I can't. How do I scroll up to get this?
Shout out to Bink Dog, producer Bink Dog on here. Shout out to all the people that's following. Thanks for the following. Also follow Behind the Records, God. And subscribe to the YouTube channel when you get a chance. Caz, where you at, Caz?